Hi, this is Jim with Instant Imprints, and today I'm going to go over an overview of the back end of the new websites. You should have received a direct link for your login to the back end, but basically if you go up to instantimprints.com, centers, your site name, then WP login, PHP, you should get to the logon screen. I'm going to go ahead and use my password program here to go ahead and get into the back end. And this is called the dashboard, which is the main screen that loads when we log in. There is a link here at the top that lets you visit the site, and so we can get a little bit of a background. I'm going to actually open that in a new tab so we can see a little bit of the front end and the back end. One of the first things I would recommend that you do is go down to the profile area, and for yourself go down to this section and update a little bit of the info in here, your name, nickname if you'd like, and how you'd like to publicly display your name. This is important if you end up doing things like a blog post. It'll show, for example, my true username here, but in this case I want to actually use my full name. Email info and all this other stuff you can fill out. But the most important thing is this first name, nickname, and how you want your name displayed. There's a few custom areas of the site that have different ways to entering info, so that's what I want to go over today. If we look at the front end of the site, let's look, for example, at the branded apparel page. We'll go ahead and load that up. So we see we've got some header text, got a link in here, a couple of images. This is pretty much a similar standard page throughout a lot of spots in the site. If we go over to just pick an item into here, like in the event screen, we've got some text, we've got an image in here. These are editable through a set page function on the site, which we'll jump over to in a second. There are a few spots though where things are a little different on how you get to them, and those are primarily the gallery and how we get to adding new photos or videos and images, the blog, which is a little bit more of a specialized area, the testimonials, which is a little bit more of a specialized area, and then if you haven't noticed it, down at the very bottom here there's an FAQ that you can actually load up if you'd like to do that with some questions and answers about different items. So I mentioned that branded apparel page, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. So on the back end of the site, there's on the left here an item called pages. If we click on that, it'll load up all the different pages in the website, and we'll see that there are 2 pages here, so I can jump between the first and the second page by clicking on these items. In this case, let's go ahead and find that branded apparel page that we were showing on the live part of the site. Now, those of you that are familiar with WordPress may have seen screens like this standard edit screen, which is a little bit more of the plain text entered into the base part of the site. With this new theme, there is an item called the MotoPress Content Editor. I'm going to go ahead and load that up for you. And what that is a little bit more of a easy edit. What you see is what you get kind of an editor. For example, if I want to go ahead and get into this portion of the text, I can just click into here, and then now we can see this edit the WordPress text. And if you're not carrying or don't want to carry a certain brand of one of these items here, this is where we can just go in here, edit that. And when we're done, we want to make sure that we click Save down here. And then when we go back to this main page, we want to make sure that we click Update, which will make this live. So if I wanted to edit an image here with a different one, what I could do is click on the image. It'll bring up the Edit WordPress text section. I could come down to that image, click on the pencil item, and you'll see that there is a Replace button here. That's going to bring me into what's called the media gallery. We can go take a look at that separately in a second. But I can either pick from another image that's in the gallery here already, or I can actually go to this link where it says Upload Files, and it lets me drag or drop and drop a file anywhere into here, which will then show up in the media library, and then I could pick that image and move forward. In this case, I'm just going to cancel out of it because I don't want to actually want to change that photo out. Just so you can see it, we'll just jump in. I'm going to go back to pages again. Let's just jump into one other general page. Let's look at one, our customers here. I'm going to go ahead and do the edit with MotoPress. We'll let that screen load. And now we are seeing which on the front end would be this page. And it lets us get in and edit this middle section here. If I want to add some different text into here, same thing, I can click into this area. It gives me the Edit WordPress text area, and I can go in here and add some words, subtract some words as I like. One item to point out too, there is actually 2 rows on the menu board up here, and by clicking on this little toggle item, it gives me a few more options. So if I did want to get into things like underline or text colors and things like that, I can do that by making sure that that toggle toolbar is turned on. In this case, again, I don't really want to make any changes to the live site, so I'm just going to go ahead and close that out. So standard pages are basically that same style throughout the site. I mentioned the ones that are a little different. So let's take a look at the blog, for example. The blog, which looks like this on the live site, is edited by going over to the post section. By going into the post, we can go ahead and add a new post. Easiest thing for you to probably do is to take a look at one of the ones that's already in there. You can do the edit with MotoPress, for example, and it gives you a little idea of how that individual text post was set up. Here's a case where you see the entire article that's been in there. And by the way, you can do cutting and pasting from other programs. I would just make sure that you always preview it. You might need to clean up the spacing if you're not happy with the way that it looks. You'll also notice over here on the left there are some things like adding images, grid gallery sliders, and things like that. So there's a lot of features that are available on those pages. If we go to, so that's a post, to add a new post, that's how you would do it. The FAQ section I mentioned, which shows up down at the bottom of the page, rather than actually going into a page, FAQ, all we would find there is a kind of a placeholder page, but I actually create them by going into this section. So here again, I'm just going to do an edit, and we could see, here's the question, and then here's the answer down there. So by adding a new one, you just put your question, your answer, update it, and you'll see it now showing up down there in that section. An area called testimonials up here is another one where by adding items in this section, you will get items to show up on your testimonial page. And they show up in this format. So that's a case where basically if it has a feature on the left for you to add items in, you should use that. And here again, I'm going to open one just so you can get an example of what it looks like, but added a testimonial. I just put their first name and initial in. If you wanted to, you can put in the URL or the email address if you'd like. Leave that up to you. And then you can go ahead and get that posted up. I've usually just been putting the name of the location, testimonial, and then name info in there. When you were done, if you edited it, you hit update, otherwise you would be publishing and adding the new item. One unique item is the portfolio section. So this area of the website, gallery, you can control by adding items into the portfolio section. There's a few examples that are in there, so it's worth taking a look at how they were added. For example, this embroidery one happens to be a video. I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit. So we see here is an introduction. Here's a format style, so we can choose from image, slideshow, grid gallery, video, or audio files. Any of those can be items that you add to the website. In this case, it's video. And we'll see a little further down here is where I would put the embed code. So, by going to Google, going to the share area, getting the spot where you can get the embedded code, that's where you would find it. That's where you can paste that info into here. When you're done, you'd click to save it and publish it, and now you've got one live on your site. Let's go back a little level here. Images are quite simple. It's basically just getting a description if you want it in, image style. You do need to set the image here. So in this case, it's an item that I picked from the gallery in this section and then brought it in. So you can either do it while you're creating them, or if you want to do some uploading before you start creating things, you can do that, bring your files in, and then be able to pick from it. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and cancel out again. One that is a little bit more unique is the grid gallery and the slideshow one. So here's an example of a promotional product where we only see one item popping up and we don't have other choices. So let's go to the back end and make that a little bit more dynamic. I'm going to change this to a grid gallery. I'm going to go ahead and put my mouse right under this line item, and I'm going to go here to where it says Add Media. That's going to load up my media library. I'm going to scroll down to some images that I want, and what I'm going to do is hold down the Control key and check off some additional items here. We see that a little checkbox is staying by each of these items. If I make a mistake, I can just click it again and turn that off. I've got all these different items chosen. I'm going to go ahead and go down to the bottom right here, Insert into Page, and we're going to give it a second or two, and we're going to see them all populate into the bottom part here. Now, I could leave them there, but we don't want to do that. So while it sounds counterintuitive, we're going to actually highlight all those and delete it. And then just go ahead and click on either you'd be saving it or you'd be updating it. And now let's go to the front end of the site again. I'm going to go ahead and give it a refresh here. And now when we click on that item, we see that I've got some left and right arrows here. So I can actually do a bit of a slideshow through the rest of the items. So if I were to click on the Read More here, we'll see that all those images did stick within this section, and you can do the same thing here, or you can click on them and bring them up larger. If you are doing the grid gallery function, there's an item down here about Lightbox turning on. Lightbox is when it does pop up like that. The image style, like I said, is a simple one. Video is pretty simple. Audio, haven't actually tried yet, but if you get stuck, you can take a look at one of the other examples that's already in there. So that's the portion related to the portfolio. So we've gone over, there's posts, which would be for adding blog items, testimonials, which will load up on your testimonial page, FAQ, which loads up down at the bottom of your page on that link. Last item I want to show you today is there are a couple of scrolling carousel spots on the website. On the home page, you'll notice there's this spot down at the bottom that shows some logos for some of the apparel vendors that we work with. And then there's also one on the Our Customers page, which is a spot you could put who some of your customers are. We're looking at East Mississauga, or Mississauga East right now. So we see things like these different companies that they've done work with. To get into those areas, I'm going to jump back to the back end, and in this case I'm in my account, which is going to look slightly different than yours, but on the left you will see that you've got a logos area. So if you click on the logos area, it's going to default into this screen, and if we were to go down and click on carousels, we'll see that there are two different ones. Customers is the one that show up on this page, and logos are the one that show on the home page. So how do we work with the logos? If you click onto the logos area, you're going to see all of them. And there's 2 pages here, so we could jump between it. These ones, we can tell just by looking at them, are the ones showing up on the customer pages, and then the apparel ones are down here, the ones showing up on the home page. If you, for example, did not want the Adidas one showing up on your home page, you actually could just go down here in trash, and it'll move that item off of that particular section of the logo screen. If we do want to add new logos, we do that via the Add New Logo section down here, and we would put in a title for the item, and then we'd say Set Featured Image, which would let us go in and go ahead and either pick the item that you've already uploaded to your media library, or if you did not, you're going to need to bring them in into the media library. You'll note that we can tell by just looking at one of these items, it's a rather small file, 96 by 55 pixels. We definitely do not want to put large images into there. You want to make sure that they're small items. Same thing as far as the ones that are for the different vendors, apparel vendors. We look at the Gildan 155 by 55 high. So you want to make sure they're small items. Large items can not only slow down your site, but they're probably not going to look good as well. So you need to size them properly before you put them into here. So once you do that, you would need to, over here on the right, under carousels, we would choose, is this one I'm adding to my customer screen, or our customers, or am I adding it to the homepage logos? When we're done, we hit publish, and now we've either got new ones showing up in here, or we've got either new ones or edited ones showing up here down at the bottom of the page. And I think for today, that's going to be it. Thanks for listening.